All right, today lesson 3B. We just spent a couple of days on adding decimals. In other words, adding rational numbers. We usually start calling them rational numbers when we start involving negative decimals. And so today, find the difference of rational numbers, which means subtracting rational numbers. Explain verbally the essential steps for subtracting decimals and read decimal answers correctly, which we've been doing for quite some time. All right, so background knowledge. Once we have an addition problem, these problems should be easy because we're simply comparing the number of positives to negatives. And I think I've had these same problems as background knowledge in the last several lessons, so I'm going to fly through these really quickly. It's a matter of comparing them. So number one, negative 2.7 minus 18.4. When we did integer problems where we were subtracting or finding the difference, we always turn them into addition problems because it made them easier to deal with. So anytime we have a subtraction problem, we still want to turn it into an addition problem first, and we usually call that adding the opposite. So we're going to turn this into an addition problem by changing the subtraction to addition, and then changing the second number to the opposite of what it is. So that becomes negative 2.7 plus negative 18.4. So the line below is where you're actually rewriting it. So let's make sure that we rewrite it. And then at that point, it's exactly what we talked about yesterday. Do we have more positives or more negatives?
More negatives.
More negatives. So we write the negative numbers down first. How many negatives do we have?
21.1.
21.1. And if you can't do that in your head, off to the side, you'll combine those together. We have 21.1 negatives. How many positives do we have?
0.
0 positives. We know that we have more negatives. That makes the answer negative. How many more negatives do we have than positives? I can't hear you. 21.1. That's a silly question in this problem because we had 0 positives. So once again, every single subtraction problem, I want you to write it as an addition problem first. That's called adding the opposite. And then once we do that, it's exactly like we've been doing the last couple of days. Combine your positives, combine your negatives, and then compare them. And in this one, we have 21.1 more negatives. So the difference is, I believe that the difference is negative 21 and 1/10. All right. We'll do a couple with the number line a little bit later. All right, everybody try number 2, please. No.
Negative 2.2 plus 24.5.
Yes. Turning it into an addition problem by adding the opposite, it turns into, as you can see, negative 2.2 plus positive 24.5. And then at that point, we simply compare. Do we have more positives or more negatives? Positives. How many positives do we have?
24.5.
How many negatives do we have? How many more positives do we have than negatives? So I concluded that the difference is, and I say it's difference because the original problem was a subtraction problem. So I concluded that the difference is 22 and 3/10. All right, I would like everybody to do number 3 and number 4, and then we will compare with our shoulder partner. Both number 3 and number 4. In number 3, we should add the opposite. When we do that, we're turning it into an addition problem, so it turns into 14.5 plus negative 15.9. And the reason why we do that, if you haven't realized it by now, we do that because it's easier to deal with addition problems with negative numbers than it is with subtraction. At this point, we have more negatives than we do positives. In fact, we have 15.9 negatives and 14.5 positives. Since we have more negatives, the difference is negative, and we have 1.4 more negatives than we do positives. So I determined that the difference is negative 1 and 4/10. Number 4, we add the opposite or turn it into an addition problem. It looks like this. We have more positives than we do negatives. In fact, we have 22.6 positives and 7.8 negatives. since we have more positives, the difference is positive, and we have 14.8 more positives than negatives. So I determined that the difference is 14 and 8/10. All right? Everybody do number 5 and number 6, and then we will compare with our shoulder partner. Number 5. Turn it into an addition problem by adding the opposite. It would look like this. In this problem, we have more negatives than we do positives. In fact, we have 34.7 negatives and 0 positives. Obviously, we have 34.7 more negatives than positives. Therefore, I concluded that the difference is negative 34 and 7/10. In number 6, add the opposite. In other words, turn it into an addition problem. It would look like this. 9.5 plus 3.8. We have more positives than we do negatives. In fact, we have 13.3 positives and 0 negatives. That makes a difference of 13.3. Number 7. Turn it into an addition problem. It looks like this. We have more negatives than we do positives. In fact, we have 14.6 negatives and 4.9 positives. We have more negatives, so the difference is negative. In fact, we have 9.7 more. I heard somebody use a sentence frame of, I ascertained that the difference is negative 9 and 7/10. I like that. All right. We have 5 problems left. Notice that a few of them are already addition. If the problem is already addition, you don't need to add the opposite. The idea of adding the opposite is turn a subtraction problem into an addition problem. Go ahead and do all 5, and then we'll check those with our shoulder partners. Number 8 is an addition problem. Therefore, the sentence frame you should have used would have involved the term sum. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. So, in number 8, we have 13.1 more negatives than positives. In fact, we have 13.1 negatives and 0 positives. So I concluded that the sum is negative 13.1. Number 9, we have 5.3 more positives than negatives. So I determined that the sum, this is an addition problem again, is 5 and 3/10. Number 10, after we add the opposite, which it should look like this, and most of you did that, a few of you did not, and what that's going to do for you is it's going to get you to the point where you're not going to get all of your problems right. And we need to make sure if we have a subtraction problem that we add the opposite. But either way, I believe that the difference is, and this is a subtraction problem, negative 4/10. Number 11, we add the opposite. That turns into 1.7 plus positive 14.8. We have 16.5 more positives than negatives. I noticed that the difference is 16 and 5/10. And then number 12, I'll use that new sentence frame that somebody mentioned. I ascertained that the difference is negative 17 and 4/10. All right, quickly turn to your shoulder partner. What did you learn today? Go.